Aaron Sorkin is here. He is a creator and executive producer of the hit NBC series The West Wing. Last week, the show continued its reign as the best dramatic series on network television. It won the Emmy for Best Drama for the third year in a row. On Wednesday, 18 million viewers tuned in to watch the 2-hour season premiere. I am pleased to have Aaron Sorkin back at this table. Welcome back.
Nice to have you.
I mean, nice to have you for a one-on-one, because the last time you were here,
yeah, it was a big crowd.
It was a big crowd. We had most of the cast, right? And so here's what somebody said: the best thing about the new season, it is no longer last season.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
Among the lesser casualties of 9/11 was that a few weeks after 9/11. I think that we wanted a diversion. We wanted to laugh. I think that a series like Friends couldn't have had its best season at a better time. Right. But what we weren't ready for were fictional heroes. Our hearts were completely with the real ones. Yeah. And particularly a fictional president of the United States. When the real president of the United States was embodying everything that we were feeling, the anger.
American will.
Exactly
American
right.
Everything.
And from week to week, you felt like you were writing the show handcuffed a little bit. I didn't know how to write it anymore. It was a constant search for what I wasn't doing that used to make the show work. And I'm very proud of everybody that I work with. We stuck together and we saw it through, and came back to work after the hiatus and didn't feel any of that. Just felt the normal week-to-week pressure of trying to write well. And we're having a terrific time now.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, what I find admirable is you acknowledge this. I mean, you're saying, look, we had a bad year last year.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a bad year in terms of all the normal indicia. But
right.
In our hearts, we didn't think that we got into the rhythm that we normally have.
It's absolutely right. Yeah, you've got to be a diagnostician a little bit. You've got to be able to say, it's not working now, and why. During those times when so maybe there was a way to make it work. There probably was. I wasn't able to find it in 22 episodes.
Now, the couple things we have to ask about. One is Rob Lowe. Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? Are you going to pay him enough money, or is NBC going to pay him enough money?
Well, I hope he stays. Everybody hopes he stays. And all he has to do to stay is stay. Yeah. It's easy. He just has to not leave. Very simply, the way it works is there's Martin Sheen, who has a particular pay scale because he had a shorter contract than everybody else. His contract was expired, and he negotiated a new one.
And by that time, it was a hit series.
Yeah, that's right. Dule Hill and Janelle Maloney, who are the two newest members of the cast, who are on the lower end of the pay scale. In the middle are 5 actors: Richard Schiff, John Spencer, Brad Whitford, Allison Janney, and Rob. And at the moment, they're all 5 being paid the same. Rob would like to be paid more. And Warner Brothers doesn't want to do that to the other 4 actors. I don't want to do it to the other 4 actors. And that's where we are. But there's no villain in this situation.
And nobody, certainly within the family of West Wing, are angry at each other.
Oh, absolutely not. We are laughing every bit as much as we used to. No one more than Rob, by the way. And I love this. I love him for this. He comes to work every day, absolutely ready to play. Terrific sense of humor. Energizing everybody else on.
Was his character assumed to be, in the beginning, when it was in your mind and when you first began to create this series, the star?
No. There was no star. I'm not crazy about stars. I like kind of writing for a band, a group of people.
With multiple storylines.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, Brad Whitford, who plays Josh, was offered his choice of Josh or Sam, and chose Josh. And I'm saying this simply to illustrate that these were all equal roles.
He would have chosen Sam if Sam was a big star, was a bigger role.
Yeah. So the answer is no. We were thrilled when Rob came in and read, because his audition was just wonderful. And the thing that was working against him in the casting process was the fact that he was a recognizable name, and we were concerned that that somehow would draw away from the ensemble feeling, that there'd be a perception that this is a show about Rob. But we swallowed that fear because he read so great for it, and we cast him.
It has also been written that Josh is your voice.
I'm not sure any of them are my voice. Either none of them are, they all are, but certainly nothing in between.
Yeah. You write every episode.
Yeah, every episode except we've done 72 now. What will be the 7th episode this season, I didn't write. It was written by two guys on our staff, Kevin Falls and Eli Addy. And then episode number 12 this season is going to be written by the playwright John Robin Bates, Robbie Bates.
Oh, he's great.
He's,
yeah.
So
what? He came to you, you went to him? Or
I
what?
went to him, and I said, and it was one of those things. As you said in your opening, the season premiere was 2 hours. And NBC said, great, we'll do a 2-hour premiere, but you still have to deliver 22 Wednesdays of original West Wings. And the only way that that could be accomplished is if I benched myself for one. And I thought, well, instead of trying to anticipate, talk to a writer and anticipate where we're going to be at episode 12, why not go to a playwright and say, take one of our characters out of the show and put them in a play. Take Allison Janney's character and send her home to her 20th college reunion, something like that. And I went to Robbie right away and said, would you do this? And, he said, yes, we're thrilled.
All right, roll tape. Here is from the current season where Toby and Josh and Donna missed the presidential motorcade back to Washington. Roll tape. Some of you may have seen this. Here it is.
They just change their watches every time they cross a time zone? What is this, a joke? Serve my country!
Okay. This is a whole new thing now. My guys are going to need to walk this off a little bit before they can regroup. Kiki, you and your friends get back to school. Tyler, you and I are going to come up with a plan to get us to a commercial airport.
Can we have a civilization?
How long are they going to be?
A couple more minutes.
How many have you written so far?
This year?
Yeah.
I've written 5. I'm writing the 6th. We've shot 5.
And you've only premiered one 2-hour spectacular.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the train's beginning to catch up.
Can you argue to your motion picture brethren that there's every bit as good a writing on television today in the best dramas than there is in film?
I would take myself out of the equation because
Okay,
I'm biased, and I
West Wing.
would tell you that my motion picture brethren, by and large, would have no argument with that statement. That certainly recently, while the quality of television has really gone up, something's happened to movies. We could all list the exceptions. There have been terrific films this year and last year and the year before. But the more studios depend on the opening weekend being everything, the less it becomes important to have a good movie. What you need is a good ad campaign. And that's, I think, what we're seeing more of these days.
So you're going to make a movie?
I hope so. I'd like to. I love movies and I love plays. And it turns out I love television.
You started out as a playwright.
Yeah, I still am.
The first thing I know about was there was something even before A Few Good Men.
I had this one act in a basement here in town that got a lot of attention, and then A Few Good Men and another play, but it was A Few Good Men that took me to Hollywood to do the screenplay adaptation, and I was just going to stay there for 10 minutes while I did the screenplay adaptation, but I stayed there for that and another movie after that, and then 2 TV series. There was one before this called Sports Night.
Yeah.
But
good writing again.
Thanks very much. I love movies. Because they're big and they're American and they're 2 hours and 20 minutes
long.
long.
The American President was a big movie.
There are no commercials, and you have the entire language available to you, which is what's nice about them. What's nice about television is that you have a continuing relationship with the thing that you write. With a movie, you're done writing the screenplay, and you're not really necessary on the set, but you hang out there anyway because you can't tear yourself away, so you eat a lot of donuts at craft service, and then it's another 3 months in post-production. You enjoy the milk and cookies during premiere week, and then it's done. And with this, what this is summer stock with a lot of money.
New York Times Magazine wrote a piece about you.
Yeah.
What did you think of the piece?
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you, at the time I remember...
Peter DeJong was his name?
Yeah, Peter DeJong, I think.
Peter DeJong, okay.
You pronounce it, and I thought there were some strange observations in there.
Okay, well, I want to get at one of those at least. Okay, it is this notion that you wrote A Few Good Men. You are not a 50-year-old ex-Marine. People see you write about things, and it's almost things that you're not that interested in, but you can infuse them with a powerful sense of reality and powerful writing that makes the lines, stand up and shout.
Yeah.
Now, what's that about? I mean, that was one point it seemed to me to have some reality. Does it or not?
It does. There's a bit of a Chauncey Gardner thing going on with me, I think, and it's when I was ramping up to my 13th birthday. Believe me, I'm not going to drag you through my entire
we'll go
life.
back there.
I have no religious training at all. I'm Jewish, but never went to Hebrew school. But in 7th grade, nearly every Saturday, I was going to a friend's bar mitzvah, and I was just beginning to develop my my love for theater. And this was great theater. These people were up there, and there was a robe, and they were singing and speaking, and there was an audience, and they were getting, you get a pat on the back. So it's about 6 weeks before my birthday, where there was just going to be a big, the boys in my family had big parties on their 13th birthday. And I opened up a local phone book and called a local rabbi and said, Rabbi, I'm going to be 13 in 6 weeks. I want you to teach me the Torah. He said, it can take me a lot more than 6 weeks. And I said, no, you don't understand. If you just say it into a tape recorder, I've got a very good ear, and I can learn it phonetically. And he pointed out that was hardly the reason for doing it.
Yeah, that's good for him.
And I'm mentioning this because I grew up surrounded by people a lot smarter than I am. Whether it was
Are you sure?
I'm certain. Whether it was at my dinner table or at a poker game, my friends.
You were the least smart person in the room.
By far. I was the person terribly interested in doing the drama club productions. These were all the people headed for Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and have since graduated from there and have gone on to do extraordinary things.
You know, they're going on to work for you is where they're going.
And what I, just like with learning the Torah phonetically, I began to just learn the sound of intelligence, what that sounded like.
This is great.
And that's how I would write. This is happening at the same time that I'm developing.
So where did you learn? So you actually learned, the courtroom drama from the idea of how.
With the courtroom drama with A Few Good Men, I had a small window in. My sister at the time was a lawyer with the Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps. So I'd ask her to give me things, to give me pamphlets, nothing confidential at all, to give me any pieces of paper that had the jargon of this place on it. And I would really start to fall in love with phrases and the sounds of things, and I'd want to put this into the scene. I also loved from very young age. My parents took me to the theater all the time when I was a little kid. And they didn't take me to little kid plays. They took me to plays I had no business being at. That championship season when I was 11 years old, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf when I was 12. And I didn't...
These are pretty good plays.
They're great
a couple
plays.
Of Pulitzer Prizes, I think.
But yes. But an 11-year-old doesn't know what Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is about. But what I loved was the sound of dialogue. It was like symphony music to me. It was just terrific. And I wanted to make that. And so I phonetically create the sound on the West Wing of people who are much more politically sophisticated than I am. I look for a point of friction. You got to have, for drama, two people have to disagree on something, and I go.
But do you know politics?
No, I don't know politics at all.
Do you watch politics? I mean, have you ever seen C-SPAN?
Oh, sure. And I watch, there are shows that I think are terrific, like Crossfire and the Capital Gang and all those shows, because they're
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, they're drama. People are disagreeing, and it's interesting to me. And when people are talking about something, it isn't so much their position that I'm trying to imitate as the way they're presenting it. I'm just trying to phonetically recreate the sound of political sophistication and knowing what you're talking about. And oftentimes in things that I've written, whether it's A Few Good Men or I wrote a movie called Malice or The American President or Sports Night or The West Wing, there'll be a quick passage that'll go by, and somebody, the studio, a producer, someone will say, gee, no one's going to know what these two people are talking about. I'll say, it's actually not important that they do. What's important is that the audience say, wow, these guys really know what they're talking about. That's interesting. And that's what I try to do.
So here's what you said in this piece. Talking about why the things I write about are pretty much disconnected from the things I think about, which is what you're saying. And so you don't have to think about them to write about them. You just have to get something essential? You have a sense of drama more than a sense of content.
I think...
Or not?
I think what Peter was getting at was this, and I think I was getting at it too there. This piece...
I mean, Peter wrote this because of conversations with you.
Of course he wrote it because of conversations with me. He also wrote it, it came quickly on the heels of a fairly public arrest.
Right.
A year ago, April, I was arrested at Burbank Airport for drug possession. And
crack cocaine.
Yeah, there were bad
marijuana
drugs. And mushrooms.
Right.
I think what Peter was getting at is that it doesn't seem like the guy who wrote The American President or West Wing or even A Few Good Men has this in his world. And
That's right.
Why wouldn't
because
I
it's
be...
an idealized, positive, fictionalized sense, as you say. You create fictitious heroes.
Yeah. It's... I'd like to write very romantically,
right.
very idealistically.
And here's a guy who's stupid enough to try to go through an airport.
Yeah, well, forget about just the stupidity
system.
of trying to go through an airport system. Who is using this drug in the first place?
So,
and what Peter was saying was, gee, why not write about that?
Yeah.
It seems to me there's something going on
it's a dark place
more
within
dramatic
you. Why aren't you writing about that?
Than I Love America.
Yeah. And
I don't know what the answer to it is.
Oh, come on.
No, I honestly
on.
don't, and I'm not being coy.
You don't know.
I think about it all the time.
And what conclusions do you reach?
The conclusion that I reach is I love writing this. This for me is like sitting down at a piano and doing something healthy, frankly, and playing nicely and practicing.
Are you through with drugs or not? Because you literally seem to say drugs helped you. Are you through or not?
I am. I mean, I haven't taken any drugs since my arrest last April.
And how hard is that for you?
There are times it's harder than others. And there have been times you get to the precipice. I'll tell you what's made it a lot easier since April is I've had what's called institutional sobriety. I'm in the criminal justice system now, which means I'm drug tested once in a while. The consequences of failing a drug test.
Is it random? Or?
It's random and it's often.
Yeah, random and often.
And often.
Yeah.
And the consequences of failing a drug test are dire.
You go to prison. Mm-hmm. Go to prison.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of certainly young minority kids in this city for possession of crack cocaine are in jail.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah.
And they have put that weight on top of you to say, if you don't behave.
That's right. It's worth mentioning, by the way, since you talked about minorities, that truly I'm not complaining on my behalf, I'm white.
Right.
But the mandatory sentencing for crack cocaine is considerably more severe than the mandatory sentencing for powder cocaine.
Yeah.
The reason being that I think 70% of all drug users are white. About 80% of all crack users are black.
That's why I made that point.
Yeah.
That's and you're saying, what's your point, though? And my point was that
I was doing a parenthetical to say that that's racially ridiculous, that's the case. I think the point that you were making is that were you asking me, because I have a TV show, did I get a lighter deal than...
And get a lot of money and hire the best lawyers and all that, yeah.
Well, there's no question that I was able to hire terrific lawyers, but what I was sentenced to was called diversion, which means you're on probation for 2 years, and you have to put in a certain number of hours every week with a drug counselor in a group setting. It was not in my group executive producers of television shows. It was me and a plumber's assistant and a stripper and a gardener, all of whom received the same sentence that I did, and all of whom paid a lot less money for their legal counsel.
You're a hell of a writer. I mean, it's just I got to believe it. Out of all these experiences, something, and it's fair to say, look, maybe I'll get to it. I hope I will, because I've got time, and writing is not easy. I've never met the person who said to me, writing is easy. Go try it. Especially if you do it at the level that you do it. So we hope you'll do that. Let me just come to the other thing about you. You got in trouble about some stuff you seem to be saying about Bush. Now, what was that about?
silly is what it was.
On your part, or on the people who came up to
I
criticize
think the
you?
people who kind of made a Megillah out of it. I was interviewed by David Remnick.
New Yorker Magazine.
Yeah, exactly right. In front of a small group of people, there was a Q&A, and right before the Q&A started, we were just chatting about something, and I remarked that I thought it was terrific that this was, I can't remember when it was in early spring, I think, of last year, so it's maybe 6 months after 9/11.
Yeah.
And I remarked that I thought it was terrific that people were laying off the knucklehead jokes a little bit with Bush, that we just weren't doing that, and that was appropriate.
Because he'd handled himself well following
Because
9/11.
because we were all in this place in 9/11, it just wasn't right to be talking this way about our president. But that I was concerned that legitimate news outlets, that the New York Times and others, and many, many others, were seeing something I wasn't seeing. They were talking about how he had been transformed on 9/11, that he rose to the occasion, he was a new man, and I wasn't seeing that, and I thought we were being snookered somehow.
By the media.
By the media. This had nothing to do with President Bush. And David said, "Great, let's talk about that when we're up there." And we did, and that interview was sort of allowed to be a part of the,
it was on the record.
The Talk of the Town piece.
Yeah. And then,
frankly, the biggest trouble that I got in was one of the examples that I cited was
Tom Brokaw.
NBC News and Tom Brokaw had done a day in the life of the real West Wing, which began with Tom Brokaw telling us, now the president's schedule has been kind of pumped up for this event.
yeah, so he acknowledged that was true.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I simply acknowledged his acknowledgement.
I thought you said that, look what they do, they pump it up and without giving credit to NBC for saying it beforehand.
I frankly can't remember what the quote is. I may not have given credit to NBC for having said it. What I said was his schedule was pumped up for the benefit of NBC. NBC and Tom Brokaw allowed that.
Allowed it, right.
And I certainly, obviously, I have all the respect in the world for Tom Brokaw and NBC News. Even if I didn't, which I do, I wouldn't say that I didn't because I work for NBC too.
I hope you called up Tom and apologized.
I did call up Tom and apologize, and he's a great sport about it. And called up Jeff Zucker and apologized.
Yeah, right. Jack Welch and Bob
Jack
Wright.
Welch, Bob Wright, who else?
Andy Lack.
Who else is in my NBC world?
Who's on my list here?
But the real problem was
on my 15 million or whatever they.
the Matt drudging of the whole thing.
So Matt heard it and just blasted it, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
And then Peggy Noonan, who.
Oh my God, Matt had me like in the Taliban, you know.
Well, there you go. They'll teach you not to go out there running your mouth off about something you know nothing about.
You know what? Now I'm just talking about penmanship and stuff on these panels.
No. Here's the thing about you. You have these pen pal relationships, these email relationships, with a whole bunch of very smart and sophisticated people in Washington.
Yeah.
Right. Maureen Dowd is one of those.
Yeah, we've got a lot of, there are a lot of people, over 3.5 years, you collect a number of people, not nearly enough, but a dozen or so people who've helped you out with an anecdote or a story, sent you in the right direction.
These are sources, are they?
Yeah, sent you in the right direction on China or Africa. Yeah. And they're all terrific people, and they're all, what they all have in common is they're all very funny. And so you really enjoy sending emails back and forth. The problem is, you find it's 2 in the afternoon, and all I've done is, emailed with Johnny Apple.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a good one. Yeah.
I'll say. Yeah.
So you've got all these people. So do they suggest you storylines as well?
Usually, first of all, what's nice is they all seem to enjoy the show. So. They'll enthusiastically suggest a story about themselves.
Why do you think that is? Because it is a glorification of
public service and government work, and oftentimes, by the way, reporters.
Yeah, right.
And
less so in terms of the mouth of the creator. I mean, you've jumped all over cable television too. I mean, you've said
no.
You didn't say anything about television and the fact that what was going on television didn't meet your approval.
No, are we talking about the reality shows?
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, it's not important that things meet my approval.
I wasn't suggesting it was, but
I sat on this past weekend was the New Yorker Festival.
Again, right. Same one you got in trouble with last time, probably.
Yeah.
Did they do another interview with you?
This time I sat on a panel called...
Was Matt Drudge there?
Called What You Can't Say on TV, Censorship in Television. And we'd gotten to the end of the panel, and I had just mentioned that there really hadn't been time to talk about the biggest problem, which is not censorship by the networks or the FCC, broadcast standards and practices. It's self-censorship that I feel that so many of the shows like Celebrity Boxing and these reality shows where fundamentally people are getting paid to humiliate themselves for our entertainment was so much worse than bad language and nudity in terms of a corrosive effect on society.
I could not agree more with you.
I'm glad to hear you say so. And that's what I was saying. But, you know, I love everybody. I'm really not a troublemaker. I'm sitting in my room and I'm doing my thing.
Well, the problem is we can't let you out in public.
And that really is the problem. I'm telling you, it really.
And we can't let you travel, and we can't let you out in public.
No, I can't go to airports anymore. No. It really is the thing, and I'm fine. If I'm living in a fictional world that I've created.
Yes,
but once
true.
I have to put my socks on, something...
Well, what, exactly. Once you start writing and talking about things you know something. Do you think of yourself as making a movie?
We do every week. We're making a 41-minute movie every week for about $2.5 million.
And what else are you going to do? You may make a movie, and you just told me when we were talking about.
Yeah,
you asked me. Let me put
eager
this in
to get back to the popcorn and the movies. When I say eager, I'm not at all eager to leave the West Wing. I love.
But if you leave when you're doing so much, what happens to this baby?
Oh, what happens is a real writer comes in and starts writing it. You can see what the show really can be.
And we'll give credit to him, won't we?
Yeah, that's right.
We'll make sure that he's mentioned when we accept awards, won't we?
Yes, we will. I've accepted a commission from the Abbey Theatre in Dublin for the 2004-2005 season to write a play.
This is great.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
When will we get started on this?
Well, I should start pretty soon.
Yes, you should. No, I mean, does that sit, the 2004?
2004-2005 seasons, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I guess.
Things are going well.
It's terrific, yeah.
Right. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me here. Thanks.
Aaron Sorkin of The West Wing, executive producer, creator, a writer. When are you on Wednesday night?
Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock on NBC.
NBC. If it's not there, go to CBS. Wednesday night at 9 o'clock on NBC. The Emmy Award-winning West Wing. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.